But that's not what you want to hear about, is it? No. It has been a while since I've been here, so I figured I better bring something really great this time. So I went through my collection of props and ideas and things like that, and I figured I'll bring the most fun thing I could find. A bright, big, colorful ball of spikes. Really, what could be more fun than a giant ball of spikes, right? After all, sure. You're going to say, well, what could he possibly be doing with this porcupine for show and tell today? Well, there's a lot we can take from this little guy here. But maybe we can relate to it somehow. Sometimes we feel like just a little ball of spikes. That's why we come here, to kind of work around that and not feel so spiky sometimes. I did happen to find this really bright, colorful one, and even though it's so bright, it's still spiky. I mean, what kind of fun could that toy be? But let's see what we can do with this. I mean, after all, it is a rainbow, and by the time we're done, maybe we'll all wind up walking out of here like rainbows as well. I'm going to set this down for a minute, though. And really, rainbows, maybe that's a great place to start. And I'm not going to talk about the way the world has corrupted the idea of rainbows, but let's look at the first rainbow we have out there. That's what we find in the story of Noah. In the beginning, Noah built an ark because God told him to build that ark. Not only just to do that, but to save him and his entire family and a boatload of animals, maybe a porcupine. But can you imagine that? The first time we see Noah mentioned, it's in Genesis. It says, this God said, he says, how evil and how wicked the world has become. And we look at verse 8. It says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Then we go ahead a little further, and it says, God lays out his plan for Noah. He tells him that the end is going to come, but he tells him what to do and how to deal with all the violence on the earth, how he's going to remove him from that. He tells him to build an ark. And if you look at the design of the ark, it's fantastic. A whole complete excitation in itself. And I promise I won't bring an ark one time. I just don't have a trailer big enough. But you never know. Don't tempt me. It might happen. Anyways, Noah has this great job to save his family and all the animals around it. And Noah did just that, according to the Lord had commanded him to do. Although it's not recorded, it'd probably go out on a limb, and people around him thought he was probably a little crazy. But God saw more in that, and God saw what was inside of Noah. And that's why God picked Noah for a specific reason. Choosing things for specific purposes. Now let's continue with that idea, if you will, to get some more examples of people who are chosen for specific purposes. Lots of different ones we can look at. So many of them out there. I'm going to start with maybe someone like Moses. We certainly know a lot about Moses. In fact, basically from his birth, basically up until his death. But what I'm going to focus on one part of that message that he gives. It's a message God says to him when he says, I've chosen you, Moses. I don't think Moses is crazy with this idea. We see in Exodus, it says, God says, come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. What does Moses do? Moses says unto God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and I should bring the children of Israel out? He's not crazy about that. But what happens next? It says, and certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, that I sent thee, where thou hast to bring forth my people out of Egypt, and ye shall serve God upon the mountains. So that's the plan. But even Moses doesn't feel like he can do it. He doesn't have it in him. But God sees more in him to be able to do this task. After all, I'm sure going up against Pharaoh and all of Egypt is no small feat at all. But God picked him and God picked you for important reasons. In fact, Moses even questions that with his abilities. And it said, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And he says, is Aaron the Levite not thy brother? I know he can speak. And behold, he also cometh to meet thee, and will be glad at heart. And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth. And I will with my mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And ye shall be a spokesman unto thy people. And he shall be, even shall he be in thee of thy mouth. And thou shalt be to him instead of God. I needed someone in my mouth to get through that one. I practiced that verse the whole time. That was the worst of them all. I'm glad I got through that. But there's potential in there yet, so there we go. God sees potential in everybody, and he's going to use it. All the help he can get. In this case, we find Moses thinking he can't do it, but God sends Aaron to help him do it. So he has teamwork. Sometimes we get that and don't even realize we have help along the way, but we do. God sees the purpose, and God sends the help as needed to bring out the best in each and every one of us. Another good example of choosing someone, and maybe you guys already picked this one, and maybe one went first with it, is the idea of David, of course. Thinking right back to how he was chosen, 1 Samuel, we find Samuel is sent by God to find the chosen king for him. Not Saul, who the people chose, but the one God is choosing. We see in Samuel, again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said, the Lord hath not chosen these. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto him, Send and fetch him, for I will not sit down till he comes. And he sent him, and he brought him forth in. Now he was ruddy, and withal a beautiful countenance, and good to look at. And the Lord said, Arise, anoint, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came unto David from that very day forward. And we look in the Psalms and see how it's described. It says, He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following ewes, great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So he fed them according to his integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hand. Now at this point you might say, that's great and all, but really God didn't choose me to be a king. Okay, that's all right, but it's a great example. So do we need to simplify it more perhaps? Okay, we can do that too if you'd like. Let's find some more simple people. Some of the greatest simple people that I think achieve greatness will we find in the judges. God sees in them more than they see in themselves, each and every one of them. And every time the children of Israel go astray from following God, he sends someone to correct their path. So many great examples of this, but the one I'm going to look at this morning, I think describes it best in this case we're looking at, is that of Gideon. Whole exhortation itself right there. But let's see what it says in Judges. It says, And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him, and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why has all this befallen us? And where be all the miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us, and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in the midst, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent thee? He said unto the Lord, O my Lord, wherewithal shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. A couple really fun things to pick out of that. Is one of the things we see is what the angel, how he refers to Gideon. What does he say about him? He refers to him as a mighty man of valor. Almost gives you goosebumps on that one, huh? Look at that. That's what he sees, a mighty man of valor. And he says, I know the Lord, Gideon says, and I know what he's done and all the miracles he's performed. I've heard about these. But he wishes and he longs for the people to see those again. That's what he truly wants to see. And that's what the Lord sees in him. And that's why the Lord picked him to do such a great thing. But another small thing in verse 15 of that, it says, look how he describes himself. This is Gideon. He says, in my family it is poor, and I am the least in my father's house. That's how he sees himself, the least. That's who Gideon thinks he is. But the Lord sees more of that. The Lord sees more of that. He sees more than just that little ball of spikes that Gideon sees himself as. That's what he is, just a little ball. But there's so much more, isn't there? Let's focus more on looking inside. Who can truly see the inside of someone? Well, we know someone who could see the inside of everyone. In fact, he chose 12 people to be around him to do that. Of course, we're talking about the disciples, aren't we? If you look at the background of them, you have Peter, Andrew, James, and John. We know they're fishermen. You have Philip and Bartholomew, who might possibly be fishermen as well. You have Matthew, who was a tax collector, and you have Simon, who was a zealot. And then you have James and Jude, who we're not sure what they did. And last, of course, you have Judas. But even Jesus knows the inside of them, sees their potential, has to constantly remind them of who they are and the potential inside of them. And what is the plan for them? The biggest plan he has, what we find here, it says, and he said unto them, go ye unto all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, and he that believeth not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, shall they speak in tongues, shall they take up serpents. If they drink anything deadly, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall be recovered. So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up unto heaven and sat on the right hand of God. And they went forth and preached everywhere. The Lord worked with them and confirming all things in signs and in followings. And that's exactly what they did, isn't it? They went out and preached everywhere. In fact, they preached so much, this idea of Christianity took off. And that leads us directly into a next little character we're going to talk about. Outward appearance, but knowing what God sees inside. Probably one of my favorite people to exhort about, although not here, I'll make a note of this one, but would be Saul, or Paul, if you will. I'm not going to focus on the conversion on the road to Damascus. We know how Saul is struck down the road with blindness. But what I want to focus on is the interaction with Ananias, what we find in Acts. Let's see what Ananias says. Ananias then answers the Lord. He says, I have heard many of this man, how much evil he hath done to the saints in Jerusalem. And he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. That's what Ananias hears about him. That's what Ananias sees in him. What does the Lord see in him? But the Lord said to him, go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles, kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him great things that he must suffer for my name's sake. Now we started off this morning looking at outward appearance. My little round ball of spikes. That's what Ananias sees in them, just a little round ball of spikes. He doesn't even want anything to do with them. He's quite even confused by the idea why God is sending him there. Why would you want to play with a little round ball of spikes? What's the purpose? God says you are a chosen vessel. Not only to Paul, but to you as well. We are a chosen vessel. That's the message we're going to look at this morning. God sees so much more in you. So that's why I bought this little round ball of spikes with me here this morning. But is it more than just a little round ball of spikes? Are you just more than a little round ball of spikes? Right? There's so much more than meets the eye. God sees more in you than you see in yourself. That's what God saw in Noah. That's what God saw in Moses. What God saw in David. What God saw in Gideon. So much more than just a little round ball of spikes. That's the point that God was stressing to Ananias. He says, I see so much more in him. Trust me, he is a chosen vessel to bear my name before the Gentiles, to kings and to the children of Israel. Where does it go from there? It's us, isn't it? What does he say about us? It says, you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a particular people, that I will show forth the praise of him who hath called you out of darkness into this marvelous light. You are my friends, if you do whatever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for servants know not what the Lord doth, but I call you friends. For all things that I have heard in my Father's name, I have made known unto you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that you should go forth and bring forth fruits, and your fruits shall remain, that whatsoever ye ask of your Father, in my name he giveth it. These things I command you, that ye love one another. Might stay. There. So much more inside. He sees so much more in every one of you. That's the value. You're not a little ball of spikes. That's why we come here this morning, to be uplifted and recharged and rejuvenated and be reminded that there's more inside of you. And I barely touched on the iceberg, the tip of this all. So many more examples you could get into. And next time I'll probably have to bring a flaming elephant to impress you guys. But that's okay. As long as you take a little piece with you, that's great. Just remember, God sees so much more. That's why we're here. Let's just be uplifted and changed and charged throughout the whole rest of the week. I'm going to close this morning with just a cute little poem that I found. I don't even know the title or the author. But what it says, make it a habit to make time each day to nurture your spirit, to think, dream, and pray. Give yourself time to grow as you need. The mightiest oak was once a small seed. Use time, love, and care in designing your nest. Create a homesteading that inspires your best. Nurture a garden when you're feeling blue. Don't be surprised if you blossom too. Show respect for your body. Eat well, get rest. You deserve nothing more than to feel at your best. Find ways to relax when things get intense. The comfort of touch, healing music, or scents. Give yourself credit for each job well done, but don't work so hard that you don't have any fun. Be kind to yourself if you don't get all A's. If making your best effort, that's what deserves praise. Treat yourself as you would a friend who's been true. If God thinks you're worthy, why shouldn't you?